Mark 13, 1 through 8. Do not be alarmed, Jesus says. How on earth can we not be alarmed when he gives us such a dire list of really alarming things? Wars and rumors of war, earthquakes, famines, nation against nation. And all of that is only just the beginning. How on earth can we not be alarmed, especially today, when all around us there is an alarming amount of violence and trouble? It may come as no surprise, but I have an idea. I've been thinking about this problem for a while, and I've thought of something. Maybe it's just a little thing, but I can't pretend to have any big answers. This is just an idea I have of how we might be able to make sense and go forward faithfully. But first, let me take a step back and ask how many of you have heard the classic country song by John Conley, Rose-Colored Glasses? Well, you might not know the song. Certainly everyone has heard the phrase that such and such a person has rose-colored glasses on. It's used as a metaphor for someone who deludes themselves by seeing only the positive, never anything negative. In John Conley's song, the rose-colored glasses show only the beauty, precisely because they hide all the truth. They hide the truth of cheating and defeat, of being a complete fool for someone he loves but doesn't love him, knowing his love doesn't need him at all, and knowing he's such a very foolish man. But he continues to hold on to those rose-colored glasses simply because they hide all the truth, and he cannot bear giving up the illusion. Okay, now that we're on the same page about rose-colored glasses, let me try to explain what I think this has to do with Jesus telling us to not be alarmed at really alarming things. I know, you'd be excused for immediately thinking I'm going to recommend that we all put on some sort of rose-colored glasses to hide all the horrible things that happen around us. Well, I'm not. No way, never, not gonna happen. We can never ignore the horrible things happening around us. And especially as Christians, we have to continually seek the truth about what's going on. And it's God's truth, not our own, God's truth, because this is God's world. We have a responsibility to see clearly what is happening all around us because this is God's world. This is God's world, and we are supposed to be stewards, good stewards of God's creation. We cannot afford to bury our heads in sand or wear rose-colored glasses. We have to see the truth of what is going on. We have to see the truth, but it has to be God's truth. And that's going to be truth that is not alarmed at war, rumors of war, earthquakes, famines, nation against nation. What I'd like to suggest is that we find ourselves a pair of Jesus-colored glasses, or maybe gospel glasses might be a good word for it. We have to put on our gospel glasses when we look at the world. And somehow or other, these gospel glasses will enable us to not be alarmed when really alarming things are happening. Not because we're simply ignoring them, but because we're seeing God's truth beyond them. If we have our gospel glasses on, then right at the beginning of our gospel reading today, we begin to see the difference it makes. When the disciples look at the humongous stones used to build the temple complex, they see an incredible testament to human ability. Huge stones, huge buildings. When Jesus looks at these same stones and buildings, he sees something temporary, made with human hands and destined to be destroyed by human hands. When we encounter the temple complex in this passage, let's recall what Jesus said to the Samaritan woman that he met at the well. When she pointed out the difference between the places where Jews and Samaritans worship, Jesus claims there will come a day when places won't matter, but God will be worshiped and find a home in the hearts of those who love God. And so, with gospel glasses on, we can see what Jesus sees. Huge buildings built with great stones are just temporary. The love of God in human hearts is the ultimate reality, especially when love of God is made real by genuinely loving our neighbor. God's ultimate reality is positive, loving human contact. If we have gospel glasses on, we will first and foremost see the world as a world that's connected with the God who made it. If we have gospel glasses on, we will see the world as a place that was lovingly created and sustained by God's love for it, God's love for all of it. If we have gospel glasses on, we will see how utterly important human hearts are, how utterly important compassion is, how utterly important the actual physical moment of caring for and loving our neighbor really, truly is. But it has to be said that if we really, truly have gospel glasses on, there are still things that will alarm us, things that should alarm us. Jesus gave us a short and remarkable list of the things that will not alarm us. Great monuments of human achievement being destroyed, even monuments dedicated to God, just as the temple was. But we also should not be alarmed by the other things Jesus mentions: wars, rumors of war, earthquakes, famines, nation against nation. When we put on gospel glasses, we will see all those things for what they basically are: abstract, general anxieties that lie beyond us. Certainly, there is some effect on human beings. I've known people who have suffered through war. It destroys people. But I'm not saying that. Saying that war, as my grandpa used to tell me, war is something that politicians wage, and all of us little people have to fight and suffer through. But war itself is a larger than life general anxiety. But when we have our gospel glasses on, we will be alarmed at some things, and the things that overlap some of the earlier stuff, like how war destroys human beings. Another thing we'll be alarmed at is the people we encounter every day and yet really don't know. The people we do somehow come in contact with who shock us at their need and vulnerability. When we come across a hungry child with no one to care for them. When we come across an elderly person with no one to care for them. The things in this world which break our hearts into pieces. That's the key here. The things which break our caring, loving hearts also call us to action. I hesitate to tell the following story, but I'm pretty sure I have to. You see, as I was writing this sermon, I got stuck back at an earlier part. Earlier I said, the love of God in human hearts is the ultimate reality, especially when love of God is made real by genuinely loving our neighbor. God's ultimate reality is positive, loving human contact. And for a while, I was stuck right there, wondering what the world looks like with gospel glasses, wondering at human hearts filled with God's love. And I thought about ending it right there. It seemed like a good ending. It would have made for a really short sermon, but I just knew I wasn't done. I knew I had to sit with it, think about it, and pray over this idea of gospel glasses and human hearts filled with God's love. So I took a break. I tried to clear my head a little. And when I clear my head, I check my email, Facebook, and Twitter. Well, the first thing I saw on Twitter stopped me cold. I was brought face to face with a moment of profound human contact. Yep, you heard that right. Profound human contact by something I read on Twitter. Someone retweeted a post from a lawyer, and it read, "In court this morning, I asked the judge if my client could wait outside. She was being fussy. He said yes, and she was carried out. Even then, I could hear her whimpers and cries. She's 2 years old. She had on a pink coat. Today was her deportation hearing." 2 years old, separated from her parents, alone, in court with complete strangers. 2 years old. My heart broke into pieces. Human contact had been made. This lawyer, part of a team providing free legal aid to immigrants, had made contact. The distance between the policy I'd only heard about in the news, separating children from their parents at the border, and the reality that there are actual human beings suffering because of it. It's made shockingly real to me in that moment of my experience of this lawyer and his plight of this little girl with a pink coat. Gospel glasses are so completely different from rose-colored glasses. Gospel glasses will save us from being alarmed at monuments being overturned, wars, rumors of war, but gospel glasses will not save us, should not save us from being alarmed at other things that matter, really, really matter. A 2-year-old child separated from her parents, alone. But gospel glasses are completely worthless, and not really gospel glasses at all, if they only and just show us the things that should really alarm us. Gospel glasses are worthless if we only see what's really happening and do nothing about it. I guess gospel glasses are really similar to welding goggles. You know, those really dark goggles or masks that block out natural daylight, but let people see the bright fire of welding. You put on these glasses not to block out the world, block out reality, or see the world as some comfortable illusion. You put on welding glasses to get a job done, to see the white hot glow of molten metal joining things together, fixing things, making crucially important contact. I don't know how much more or better this metaphor of gospel glasses can be developed. And honestly, I really don't care. I'm really kind of done with it. You're good people. You know what I've been getting at by trying to see the world as God sees it, seeking to see the world as Jesus sees it, so that I can do what Jesus calls me to do, to be a part of God's healing and reconciliation with God's world. Developing and trying to communicate this metaphor of gospel glasses really was a fun exercise. But honestly, now that I know that there's a little girl in Arizona with a pink coat and caring people doing their best to help her, I have to do something. Well, honestly, I already did do something. Right after I read the message, right after I cried, realizing the reality of what was going on, I made a donation to the legal team and did my best to put together this sermon. But these folks do not need some preacher's metaphor. They need us to genuinely care for them in truth and deed. Do not be alarmed by wars and rumors of war, but be very alarmed when you discover a neighbor's need and think there's nothing you can do. When we come to see the world as Jesus sees it, when the eyes of our hearts are open wide to what's really going on, Our hearts will lead us forward to do what is right. It doesn't necessarily have to be some grand gesture, but there has to be something done. As much as the love of God is within our hearts will show us the way to love our neighbors in truth and deed. When the love of God is within our hearts will show us the way to love our neighbors in truth and in deed. Amen.